The original Xbox had a very complex PC-like structure that was both its strength and weakness. While it did make it so the Xbox was much more powerful than the PlayStation 2, it also made it so devs had a much harder time developing games for it. As a result, Japanese game devs in particular hated working for the Xbox, which made it so the console had a very limited exclusive game catalog, especially when it came down to RPGs, with it only having 5 games in it. One of these games was Sudeki. Developed by the British Climax Studios, released in 2004 for the Xbox and later ported to PC in 2005, Sudeki is an RPG with real-time combat that mixes elements from Western and Japanese RPGs. It tells the story of 4 characters, Town, Eilish, Buki, and Elko, who are the descendants of the heroes that banished the dark god Hygo, who splits Sudeki into 2 worlds on their journey to prevent his return and reunite Sudeki once more. If there is something to be praised about Sudeki, is its combat. While it isn't what will make the average YouTube video essayist blow chunks, it is definitely a lot more fun than it might seem. The melee characters, those being Tao, Buki, Kazel, and Nico, have basic hack and slash combos that aren't particularly amazing but fun enough to perform. The ranged characters, on the other hand, get you play in first person. And here's the problem about putting any FPS adjacent mechanics in an RPG game for me. You know that I'm picking it every time I can. While I enjoyed controlling Tao in the beginning of the game, as soon as I realized that Eilish was playing Quake instead of an RPG, I just knew that the princess was the one that was going to kick ass in this story.
In the first age, in the first battle, when the shadows first lengthened, one stood, the Doomslayer.
And sure, Elko gets access to guns in first person. He pretty much just gets a bunch of pistols. And in theory is much better. Not bad, but very samey for the most part. Eilish, on the other hand, gets staves that are a pistol, an SMG, an assault rifle, a shotgun, a rocket launcher, and a sniper rifle. Also, her specials support the playstyle very well. A healing spell to make sure that the other characters can act as meat shields for you, a party-wide attack speed buff which means that you get to shoot faster, and a powerful low-cost AoE blast that can easily one-shot waves of enemies when you invest enough points into her. There is certainly a bit of an imbalance between melee and ranged characters. While with the melee characters, whenever you attack an enemy you get stuck in place and your best option against attacks is just standing your ground and holding the block button, ranged characters get you attack and move, making it so they are capable of endlessly kiting mobs like they are one frosty gnomish wizard on the highway to 60. The special move animations are great. Whenever you choose one, time slows down and your character performs a cinematic super move, sometimes completely breaking the game. Apparently the slowdown effect, which also happens when opening the quick menu to change weapons or use items, was not initially a part of the game in early builds, and it was included because the devs realized quickly that performing supers actually punished the player, who would basically stun themselves while the enemies attacked them. While the gameplay is great, the story, not so much. In the beginning, in a galaxy far, far away. Wait, that's the wrong script. In the beginning there was one god, the god of light, Tetsu. But he felt lonely one day and decided to create a clone of himself. It turns out that his clone became an evil twin named Hygo, and this evil twin overthrew Tetsu and split the world of Sudeki into 2 worlds. The world of light, Haskilia, and the world of darkness, where vampires, werewolves, and not that world of darkness. And the world of darkness, Aklovia. 4 heroes manage to defeat Hygo, free Tetsu, and banish Hygo. However, now the God of Darkness is about to return, and the 4 descendants of the heroes must embark on their quest to save the world. After a sudden Aclovian attack, Tao, a soldier in the army of Haskilia, manages to push back the attacking forces, and after he defeats a creature made of layers, he is visited by the ghost of Christmas past, the god Tetsu himself, who tells him about his upcoming grandiose journey. But first he must grind 1,000 boars and escort the princess of Haskilia, Ailish, back to Illumina. However, the princess is not in this castle, and as a matter of fact, and if anything, Tao might be the one that needs any saving here. Eventually, the totally not a future couple are joined by Buki, a warrior of the furry people, who gets stronger the more clothes that she loses. And I'm not even kidding, by the way, with each cutscene that she grows in power being blessed by Tetsu himself, she loses more clothes. It's like she's Ivy from Soul Calibur. Also, the camera straight up focuses on her ass in some cutscenes. You cannot make this up. And Elko, a frequent poster in R-Atheism, who's the lead scientist working on a defensive shield for Illumina. Together, they must get multiple crystals, starting with one being held in extreme euphoria in their Tempel des Drachenlords. These crystals are going to be used to empower the shield of Elko's totally not unknowingly nefarious project. Did he just slap her ass? What the? In their quest, they learn more about the nature of Haskilia and Aclovia, slowly unveiling their connection and a large conspiracy. The game's premise, while basic, is interesting, but the storytelling doesn't do it justice. For most of the game, you feel like you're playing the first half of a story, where all the important story elements are being laid out, so the second half develops then into the chain of events that leads up to the climax. However, what really happens is that by the time that you reach the point that you would think that it would be the ending of the first half of the story, in reality, you've reached its end. The plot rushes itself towards a conclusion and that's it. Worst of all, you don't even get a cutscene to show the aftermath of the fusion of Haskilia and Acloria. You get a cutscene like the one from the beginning of the game telling you that everyone lived happily ever after, and that's it. It doesn't help that, to me at least, the game felt like it starts off really slow. Then it gets really interesting by the time that the story reaches the Shadowlands. However, at that point, even though it might not seem like it, the game's story is already a third of a way done. It kind of sucks too that while the full 4-member party dynamic is actually pretty cool, the game really tries its best to avoid letting you control all 4 members for most of the game. In the Shadowlands, you get to take control of the 4 characters, and it's a really cool experience. But then, right away in the Transcentia Lab, after a few combat segments, the game already splits the party into 2 parties of 2. And then it does this again when they reach the Crystal Reef. Then it forces you to swap 3 of your characters for their mirror versions from Aclovia, which I guess you get to control 4 characters at a time, but that doesn't make up for the fact that they are their own things. So all your progress on the real party members that you put a lot of effort to advance is put on hold until you defeat the behemoth. And after this, you don't even get to enjoy your party a lot anyway, because Tao must face the final boss alone, which by the way is a very tedious fight. This horror movie character syndrome, where the characters act like they are in a horror movie and feel the primal, inexplicable urge to split up at the most inconvenient times, gets old really quick, and it's a shame that the game does it so much. As to be honest, the combat is a lot more fun when all 4 party members are active in battle. One of the strengths of Sudeki is its setting. The The game presents a cool and fairly fascinating world with diverse locations and pretty good looking landscapes. While Haskilia is all about being sunny and bright, Aklovia is dark and gloomy, but also intriguing. In Haskilia, you get a primitive village in a rocky desert full of furries right next to a highly advanced futuristic city full of robots where German is a thing for some reason, and HAL is trying to bring Skynet into this world. In Aklovia, you can visit the fiery pits of Devil's Canyon. Or the snowy fortress of Doom, where they are experimenting on a new Chimera-esque bioweapon. You can visit the village of Cristo Riff, which is abandoned. Or the Scientine Citadel, which is abandoned and destroyed. Or you can visit the graveyards of the Shadowlands. Well, at least you can visit the dead that haunt there. They might not like you paying them a visit and might actually try to kill you, but at least you can see something there. Damn. Everything in here is either abandoned or an absolute dumpster fire.
Welcome to Detroit!
Jokes aside, the zones in this game are great, and the Shadowlands might be by far my favorite. With its eerie mist, the ominous soundtrack that enhances its ambience, the enemy designs, the ferryman, and our good friend Hexen, who looks like one of the Skeksis from the Dark Crystal. The enemy designs are pretty good. Some are much more interesting than others, as, let's be honest, bees are not on the same level of threat as weird double-headed minotaurs wielding morning stars, unless you're Nicolas Cage.
Oh, no, not the beast!
But still, there's a great variety of enemies ranging from humans and grey humans to undead furries and mysterious aliens that are not pleased. The boss designs in this game are great. The ogre is probably the most boring one, as it's just a common enemy in the late game that you can find early, but he works well for the first boss. And then you face
the giant enemy spider.
An undead werewolf. I'm made of metal! My circuits gleam! I am perpetual, I keep the country clean! A siren who got a goon cave dedicated to her. Whatever this was, and John Edge, the Lord of Edginess. Going into this game, I didn't really expect much from its soundtrack, but it turned out to be pretty solid. It does have some pretty good songs in it that overall fit the world locations pretty well. The sound effects are overall decent, although I'm not gonna lie, there are few issues with the audio mixing, such as this waterfall that sounds like it was mixed by Christopher Nolan. Realistic, by the way. The dialogue in this game felt off at times. I know that these were the early days of voice acting in video games, so video game voice acting was a mixed bag. But it's not much about the quality of the voice acting as it is about some of the writing choices that seemed odd. Sometimes the dialogue feels nearly robotic, and it strangely reminded me of Jade Empire's dialogue, where whenever any minor boss would be defeated, characters would start talking enthusiastically about a bright future ahead of them. But nothing really beats the Irishman over here.
Well, blow me.
Excuse me? What? The reasons why Sudeki was forgotten in many ways are similar to those of Jade Empire. Much like BioWare's game, Sudeki faced challenges during its development, especially when adapting the game to the Xbox, and as a result, it had a lot of content cut and changed during development, as evident by its somewhat rushed and unpolished narrative. The game was originally announced in 1999, supposed to be a Dreamcast game, named Symphony of Light, but would later migrate towards the PlayStation 2, until it caught Microsoft's attention, who wanted an RPG for their console's early catalog, causing it to then be moved to the Xbox. Over time, the game had its art style changed from a Japanese-inspired one into its Western-Japanese hybrid style. The third-person combat gained hack-and-slash elements, with developers getting inspired by games such as Devil May Cry and Onimusha 2, and the first-person combat was added late during development, with the enemy's AI being reprogrammed to accommodate it. The result is that the game ended up feeling much weaker on its story side when compared to its gameplay aspect. And a lacking story is very problematic for an RPG, which prompted Sudeki to be not well received. This weakness, combined with the fact that at the end of the day the game was released on a fairly unpopular console, made it so Sudeki also didn't perform commercially well, causing it to fall into the realm of forgotten games. All things considered, despite its flaws, Sudeki is still a pretty fun game that is worth your time if you buy it on sale on Steam. It might not be the best RPG ever, but it's definitely worth a shot. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe and leave a comment, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.